Well, these graphics are fantastic. Well, the President's Trophy does not often lead to the Stanley Cup, but it does give us a baseline for who is the best team in the regular season. Let's get into the overs and the unders here. Let's start with the Coyotes. The number, boys, is set at 74.5 points. Thomas, you go first. You think they get more or less?
I think they're going to be an improved team. You look at what they've done on paper. You add guys like Zucker, who's a winner, and then you also add a guy like Sean Durzi, who's going to play big minutes. They've added Dumba. They've brought in so many pieces for a team that's learning and building, and I don't think that they're necessarily going to be a playoff team, but you can see all of these additions, and I think this is a group that's definitely going to surpass what people have them pegged at, 74 points. I think it's going to be a little bit higher than that, maybe quite a bit more. I don't think they're a playoff team
quite
yet.
A bit more.
But this is a group that it's going to be interesting to see what they do with all the new faces in the building.
I know you didn't ask me this, Keith, but I'm going to throw it out there anyways. I think Logan Cooley wins the Calder Trophy this year, so look out for him. He's going to get a ton of opportunities, and this is a team that was they exceeded expectations last year, I believe, and they've created a culture there. The Desert Dogs, they battle. They battle in games. They don't go away. They've got a little grit to them, and I love how they doubled down with that. I played with Jason Zucker and Matt Dumba. Both guys are awesome in that department, right? They compete. They're winners, and they battle. And Durzi, like you mentioned on that power play, he's a very underrated guy that can lead the way in that department. So look out for this Yotes team. They're the over on that for sure.
I mean, I was going to ask you about the Calder, but whatever. Vancouver Canucks, 88.5 is where we have the line set according to DraftKings. You're up.
I'm not in love with this roster. They got a lot of pieces on that team, but that's not a good D core, and we don't know, and there's question marks in that, so I'm going to say the under. I just don't know. I think what we've seen over the last number of years in Vancouver is just a model of inconsistency, right? Like they go through stretches.
Not ideal.
Yeah, they go through stretches of being very good because they have talent, but they're not built well enough to sustain an 82-game season. So I'm going to say under.
I'd agree with you on that. So I'm going to say under, but I'm going to say they're going to improve from where they were last season. It was tumultuous. Everything was going on. There was so much distraction. Rick Tocchet's the coach for a full year, and I think throughout that year, he's really going to instill the hockey that he wants to play. And you've got your high-end players there, but as Rupper said, you can't really compete and win without a really good defense, especially in the Western Conference. So I think they're under that total. I think that they're going to be building for the future and going to be better than last year, but I don't see them surpassing that point total yet.
And I don't think you guys are wrong here, too, because 86, 87, 88 is under, and that would still be probably a pretty successful season. All right, so let's go to the Buffalo Sabres. If you believe in what Pete Jensen was telling us earlier in the show, they're going to win the Stanley Cup probably. But anyway, 92.5 for points. Thomas, you go.
Yeah, I'm taking it for sure. To me, 92 points last year, that wouldn't have got you in the playoffs, or could have snuck you in the last spot in the East. This is a team that's going to improve, and we've been talking about them for years now. But these players that they have on their roster, they're for real. It's showtime now. You've got Owen Power going into his second year. He was so good last year. Pair that with Dahlin, pair that with the guys that they brought in free agency, a veteran voice like Eric Johnson on the back end, and the group up front is very underrated and very deep. I think these guys are heading in the right direction, and I could see them getting in the playoffs this year. I think there's teams like them and the Ottawa Senators that are going to be taking away points from other teams, so I do expect them to be higher.
I was struggling with this one. I was teetering back and forth, but the two little moves as far as when you look at it as a whole in the National Hockey League. Eric Johnson and Connor Clifton on the back end. If this team learns how to defend at all, they'll make the playoffs and it'll be over. So I'm going to give them the over, but they don't know how to defend last season. They could score with anybody, and it's fun. And I want to know what their mindset is this summer. You know, a young team that's scoring at will. Do you go into the summer with a little hop in your step, feel like you've arrived? I hope not. I hope they have a chip on their shoulder because they still miss the playoffs, right? If they have that, this team will be better in a playoff team. We just won't know until they get on the ice.
Yeah, I hope Buffalo doesn't hate me. I think it's going to be the under. 91 last year, probably about the same, 90 or 91. Panthers at 99.5. That is a robust number, Ruff.
Yeah, it's 99.5. Don't hate me. I love the storyline last year. I don't have this team. I think it's the under. I don't think they get to that. It's a high number to begin with, but this is also a team that won the President's Trophy and then went to Stanley Cup Finals the next year. So it was a unique season last year, to say the least, but they made the most out of it in the playoffs. But I just think that it's a step back year.
Yeah, I'm not doubting the personnel or the willpower of anyone in that group. We saw what they did in the playoffs. This is a group that's going to be without two of its best defensemen, Brandon Montour and Aaron Ekblad. Those guys aren't going to play at the start of the season. I think that they're going to be under. I think this is a team that's going to be similar to last year, where they're probably going to be trending at the end of the season. A lot of it really relies on goaltending for them. Can they get those stops? That amazing, incredible goaltending we saw from Bobrovsky. Can they do that the entire season long, especially with missing some top guys at the beginning? I say it's under, and I say at the end of the year, they're going to be sniffing around that number, but I don't think it's going to be that good because they've got a tough road to go at the start of the season.
I think DraftKings did a really good job with that price and that number. Anna and Pete, your turn on the expectations now. We're going to start off with the Blue Jackets. Do you see them having more or less than 72.5 points this season?
I think they're one of the most improved teams in the entire league. That's not to say they're going to make the playoffs this year, but that number's pretty low. So I think with a healthy Zach Werenski, a healthy Patrick Laine, who was about a point per game last year, factor in some defensive improvements. They got that rookie Jiricek, who's a sleeper for sure. You got Severson in there, Provorov, some legitimate pieces. And then, with the forward group, Adam Fantilli, Kirill Marchenko, Kent Johnson. How about the Michigan connection, guys, right? It could come into fruition here if guys like Werenski, Fantilli, Kent Johnson are all on the ice together. First or second power play, it doesn't matter. This offense is deep, and I think the ceiling for the group offensively, at least, is like top 10 or top 15 offense.
There's only one player I think Pete didn't mention on the Blue Jackets, so I'll throw him some love. Boone Jenner as well. I think he's pretty underrated. If he stays healthy, he's a big part of this team as well, if he's the center on their first line especially. But I agree with Pete. I mean, this is a much improved Blue Jackets team. Are they going to make the playoffs? Probably not. But are they going to do significantly better than they did last season? Absolutely.
Anna, let's talk about the Ottawa Senators. 90.5 is the point total. Over or under?
Guys, the Sens are so back. They are so back this season.
That's awesome.
We've been talking about them this entire show. There's not much more I can add. They added Tarasenko, Tim Stützle, Brady Tkachuk is a stud, Jake Sanderson, a guy we haven't talked too much about who I think is a big addition for Ottawa is Korpisalo in the crease. He's finally getting the opportunity to prove himself as the go-to starter goalie after being a part of the tandem pretty much his entire career. I think he has a pretty high individual ceiling. There's not much I can see wrong with this squad. This is their year.
She's talking about, just before, she was talking about maybe a rematch of Pittsburgh and Ottawa in the Eastern Conference Final.
That would be nice.
It's a little bold, but
Okay. And Eric Carlson's on the other side now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, boys, we are so back at the desk right now. So, Rupper, anything over there that you liked or didn't like?
I like the Ottawa call a lot. I think that's one. And to go off kind of what I said about the Buffalo Sabres, too, and I don't mean, I'm not saying the defense as a position. Team defense, Buffalo has better, but Ottawa's in the same boat. If Ottawa as a team defends it all, they are going to be a juggernaut of a squad. And they have some upgrade in that here with Jonas Korpisalo going there. I like the addition and Anton Forsberg and him, having Forsberg hopefully healthy. I like that duo. I think it'd make a big difference.
Yeah, this is a team that picked up points last year, third, fourth-string goaltenders. If they can get the goaltending sorted out, they've certainly got a chance. And if we talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, although they finished so low in the standings last year, they were never an easy out. I enjoyed watching them play. I think that Brad Larson really taught those guys how to compete. And now it's Mike Babcock's turn, and you have some more talent infused. I think this is a group in a really difficult conference that's not going to be handing out, a division rather, they're not going to be handing out points anymore. So they're a team that can spoil a lot of teams' hopes. I think they're going to be better than we project.